Hello and welcome to the 12 Report. My name is Inam Maso, standing in for Blessings Masugu. The headlines. Death tolls in Kogi boat tragedy hit 36 as rescue efforts continue. River State Governor sacks commissioners, other public officers with immediate effect in line with Supreme Court ruling. Over 200 arrested in Morocco as Gen's 212 protest enters fifth day. Now, as usual, we have our reporters stationed in different parts of the country and outside. We have Mana Balagbobo joining us from Kogi State. Sumaya Abubakar and Aishat Saliu are standing by in Abuja, while Afia Hagen joins from London. Now, we've got the details in a moment. Let's begin in Kogi State, where yet another boat accident has happened, this time in Ibaji local government area, where the death toll has climbed to 36, with 13 bodies recovered and 23 still missing. According to the Kogi State Emergency Management Agency, the ill-fated vessel was carrying 80 passengers when it capsized. 68 passengers were rescued alive, while search and rescue operations continue. The passengers, primarily traders and mourners, were returning from a burial where en route from Onugwa community in Ibaji to Ilushi Market in Edo State when the tragedy occurred. Governor Usman Ododo has directed emergency agencies to intensify rescue efforts while extending condolences to the bereaved families. Now, women leaders, activists, and changemakers from across Nigeria have gathered in Abuja to emphasize the importance of unity and collaborative action in advancing social, economic, and political progress. At the ongoing 9th Voice of Women Conference and Awards themed Nigeria Women and the Power of Collective Action, participants highlighted the critical role women play in shaping the nation's future. They also called for stronger collaboration to overcome barriers such as gender equality in governance and leadership, as well as pushed for a passage of the special seats reserved for Women's Bill at the National Assembly. Now, News Central's Aisha Saliu is at the venue with more. Aisha, good to have you.
Good afternoon, Inam.
Now, Aisha, can you tell us what's the mood at the conference today and how engaged are the participants?
Well, I'll say the mood here at the conference would be a very vibrant one. I mean, women from different strata of life have converged right in this hall, and they are talking about how to advance women's rights, especially issues that are relating to women. I mean, women have long been underrepresented regarding governance and leadership. So here, there are lots of conversations ongoing, quite brilliant and intelligent conversations going on in there as to how to push the conversation forward.
Right. And can you tell us now, in terms of issues and the theme, what are some of the key issues or themes that are dominating some of the discussions this year?
The theme dominating the discussion this year is underrepresentation and how women can have more voice in the area of leadership and governance. I mean, they're calling for grassroots women to see how they can come together and support women who are vying, who have shown interest to come up for elective positions. I mean, we're talking about elections, they want to campaign, they're calling on grassroots women to support them and not let them to be by themselves. It's just a general call to action. And then also one other major issue here is how they are drumming support for the reserve seats bill, which is at the National Assembly, the House of Representatives at the moment. So women are also clamoring for more support, more push to see that the bill comes to the light of the day and it is finally assented to, it becomes an act.
Right. And Aisha, I believe that this is not really just another gathering for women, and there is an objective as to why organizations gather. But can you tell us that how are the organizers and participants planning to translate these discussions into tangible action for women empowerment across Nigeria?
Well, first of all, it's for the conversations to start. And once these conversations continue, they intend to also involve the lawmakers, where these conversations will be transformed into policies, laws, so that it's not just words, it's not just conferences, but our words are put to action, are put to paper, and then implementation follows.
Thank you so much, Aisha. We'll cross back to you if time allows us. Now, across Africa, debates over democracy, government, and accountability are taking center stage yet again. Here in Nigeria's capital, Abuja, the Fix Politics Africa Conference 2025 has brought together reformers, civil society voices, and policymakers from across the continent. The two-day event revolves around pressing questions like how can Africa rescue and strengthen its democracy amid depicting public trust, disputed elections, and growing concerns over state capture. Now, let's cross over here to our correspondent Sumaya Abubakar at the Shehu Musa Yaradua Center in Abuja, where the conference has just kicked off. Sumaya, how are you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, and good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Sumaya, what's the mood on the ground as the conference begins today?
Well, I will tell you, but I would rather show you, based on the movement, behind me or around me, it is, numbers of people talking about multi-generations, starting from the youth to the elderly, are all here. We have delegates from all African countries, people, politicians, civil society, political figures, and even the youth are coming here, and it's all about how democracy has been going so far in Africa. And now, of course, I would have to point out the theme, which is democracy in crisis, exploring new pathways to governance and development in Africa. So there is so much, this discussion is so robust, there is details to it, and I will tell you that people are really, passionate about this. There's so much enthusiasm around this place today.
Now, Sumaya, can you let us in and let us know are there any notable reform proposals or calls for action emerging from the conference thus far?
Yeah, so far there seems to be a lot. There's been a robust, discussion, and currently they're on break. But then so far they pointed out that in every 10 African youth, about one of them have protested, have gone to, participate in a political protest. So it's saying the numbers have increased of people, or African youths, not satisfied with what is happening in Africa in terms of democratic deliverance. They also talked about 60% of youths in Africa are not, satisfied about this. So there is numbers. They said they've made so much research on this. Talking about electoral autocracy, they said that there's a lot of military regime going on, and people seem to be okay about this, thinking because there's a dysfunctional, democracy, that is the outway. But then they say that that is not the way to go so far. They talked about countries that so far have democracy. Mauritius is part of them, Botswana, and Namibia, Cape Verde as well. But then apart from that, a lot of African countries do not have this. So here there is a book or something they call the Center. I would have to point on that. They said the Citizens Charter. Now this is something they say they are going to sign at the end of this two-day conference, which would be something that means that there is not going to be stop. This is not about just the conference here. After this conference, there is going to be a deliberate effort to make sure that this, these discussions here are achieved in Africa. And they also talked about community movement, saying that so far we've seen countries, going out, country like Nigeria with the NSAS protests and NBAD governance protests. They also pointed out Madagascar that were, they're currently on the streets, talking about poverty and how the democracy is not working for them, pointing out that Madagascar rather, is one of the African countries, or one of the countries in the world that provide numbers of vanilla, but then they are poor among countries. They also talk about Morocco protests that happened during the World Cup, saying that they are building stadiums instead of building schools. So they are saying, multiple African countries were mentioned like this, saying that people are now going out on the streets to point out their worries. And of course, with this citizen charter that is being discussed here and would be signed, there is a deliberate effort to make sure this move does not stop here.
Sumaya, thank you so much for keeping us engaged and well-informed in Abuja. Now we go on a break, but when we return, River State Governor sacks commissioners and other public officers with immediate effect in line with the Supreme Court ruling. Stay with us. You're welcome back. Before the break, we did mention that yet another boat accident has happened in Kogi State, and this time in Ibaji local government area, where the death toll has now climbed to 36 with 13 bodies. Now, our state correspondent, Mala Balagbobo, is on the ground in Lokoja right now to bring us the very latest, including casualty numbers, displaced figures, and relief efforts and urgent needs. Mana, you are welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so delighted to be here on the 12 Reports.
Now, Mana, you've been discussing this with the state official. What can you tell us about the situation of things right now in Ibaji?
Well, the situation is there. You can just imagine the number of persons that have been confirmed dead. The Eje of Ibaji was speaking yesterday, and he told officials that there's still a lot of people that are still missing. Several persons are still inside the river. They are yet to confirm whether they are dead or not. And I mean, 80 persons were on board that boat, and 36 persons have been confirmed dead. I mean, that number has gone up from the time when the initial report stated that 20 persons were confirmed dead. So we're still waiting for more updates regarding those who their bodies are yet to still be discovered. But the families, is just so sad. Some of the stories I've been hearing, it's really devastating. The deputy governor of Kogi State, Joel Oyibo, was also on ground in either state to commiserate with the families of those who lost their lives, and also promised efforts will be on the way. I also spoke with the Kogi State Emergency Management Agency officials this morning, and they told me that they are working round the clock to ensure that relief materials get to those affected. But as of today, I can tell you clearly that they are yet to receive relief materials. Even the community we visited Owara last week, they are still yet to get relief materials. And SEMA has been rallying around with stakeholders, trying to get help. Do we recall the report I filed in last week? There's some of the agencies that they went to and some of the ministries they went to seek for help and support. They said that, I recall the Commissioner for Information, Heaton, was saying that the state government can't do it alone. They're calling on private bodies and other UN organizations to rally around so that they can get adequate support for these persons.
Now, Mana, you've just given us a number, which I think is a very shocking number and very painful. But now, in terms of demand and need, what are some of the most urgent needs in Ibaji right now? Now, are we talking about goods, shelter, medical care, evacuation? And of course, can you let us know which communities are hardest hit and hardest to reach at this current present?
Well, given the fact that Ibaji community has been affected with flood, this is a community whereby year in, year out, almost the entire communities are submerged in flood. The percentage always is between 90 to 95%. So that tells you practically that every community in that particular area is affected. And to top it all with this issue of boat mishap incident, it just adds to the burden that is already in that particular community. So I can tell you for a fact that practically everyone in that particular community is affected in one way or the other. You can imagine those who lost their husbands, their children. You can just imagine the agony and the pain right now in the hearts of so many persons. But the Eje of Ibaji has appreciated the state government for the swift response in terms of commiseration and also sending condolences to those who lost their lives. Efforts are still on the way to see if they can get some of the bodies that are still lost in the water that is River Niger, and it's really sad. So the impact, and everyone is feeling the impact from flooding to this boat have. Every community in that particular area is feeling impact. So we're monitoring relief efforts. After this reporting here now, the executive secretary, Mokhtar Atima, he just called me. I went to his office earlier today to get more facts to be able to share with our viewers, but he was not responding to my calls. But just before I came up live now, I saw his missed call. Even the media officials, they are reaching out to me. So hopefully by 3 o'clock, I'll have more detailed information as regarding the particular number of communities that have been impacted, because they were the ones who went to Ibadan yesterday. So I'll get all of that details and get back either for 3 p.m. or for 6 p.m.
36 dead, and we're hoping that as the day progresses, that number does not increase. Mana, thank you so much for the feedback, and of course, we will be on standby to hear on the updates in Lokoja. Thank you. While the nation celebrates its journey of independence over the past 65 years, concerns over insecurity continues to spark debate among the citizens. For many, the question remains, has the country become safer, or have challenges become overwhelming? News Central's correspondent Victor Mbadike takes a closer look at the security situation and the voices shaping the conversation.
From northern Nigeria, where bandits have turned highways into hunting grounds for travelers, to the southeast, where families now live in fear of sudden attacks and enforced sit-at-home orders, and even in bustling southern cities, where militancy, kidnappings, and robberies disrupt daily life. Insecurity is no longer an abstract headline. It is a reality that millions wake up to each day.
Security in Nigeria, I do not think it has improved based on recent incidents I've seen.
Even right in front of people's house, they got kidnapped, and a lot is happening in the country right now.
We are kind of used to the norms of let's manage things, or let's see as things goes, but currently it's getting worse.
I don't think it has improved though. Every day we keep hearing about the killing in Benue and all that, like Kogi, all those northern side like that. So security here in Nigeria, I don't think nothing is done about it though.
Despite billions of naira budgeted annually for security, communities remain under siege. When President Bola Tinubu came into office in May 2023, one of his first moves was to rejig the nation's security architecture, appointing new service chiefs, the NSA, and restructuring command strategies. The goal was to bring fresh energy and coordination to tackling insurgency, banditry, kidnapping, and urban crime. So, what has changed? In the first half of 2025 alone, there were 4,672 security incidents nationwide. This is slightly down 1.08% from the second half of 2024, but up by about 9.2% compared to the first half of 2024. During that same period, 6,800 persons were killed, a 13.67% rise from the second half of 2024 and 19.11% higher than the first half of 2024. Abductions numbered around 5,402 in the first half of 2025. That's down slightly versus the second half of 2024, but substantially compared to the same period in 2024. On the financial side, Tinubu's administration has proposed and expended large sums in its response to insecurity. In the 2025 budget, 4.91 trillion naira was allocated to defense and security, the largest single expenditure line in the budget, with total national budget amounting to 47.9 trillion naira. Numbers and budgets are one thing, but how well the money has been used and what kinds of strategic choices have been made are what experts say will decide whether this investment leads to real safety.
The funds are meant to procure weapons, armory, and for supplies. That one, these funds cannot be released to the personnel. It will be released to the agencies, the Ministry of Defense, Navy, DSS, NSA, NIA, DIA, so that they can procure the equipment that they need to procure. So the first thing we can do to ensure that the people in the front get the access to these weapons or equipment that are being procured is to ensure that we fast track our procurement process. It is unfortunate that we allow even security and defense projects and programs to go through normal procurement process that ends up wasting time and delaying military personnel and intelligence officers to have access to these gadgets.
Security experts said the rise in fatalities despite huge security spending shows the country is fighting symptoms instead of causes.
Over a long period of time, which is lack of these basic things that makes a society function. We're talking about health care. We're talking about education. We're talking about means of livelihood, creating jobs. We're talking about a value chain that ensures that every member of society feels as part of the fabric and not being left out to dry. And then result to thinking that when somebody wakes up and telling you, come to the bush, we'll go and do this, we'll do that, we'll kidnap people, we'll make money and seize it as something that is normal. You need to go back to the drawing board. You need to go back to the beginning, 5 agents of socialization and strengthen them.
As Nigeria marks 65 years of independence, insecurity threatens internal stability as Nigerians are calling for concerted efforts to address the root causes. In Lagos for News Central, Victor Badege.
Now, to help put some of this into perspective, we are joined by security analyst Chidi Omeje. You're welcome, sir. Now, Chidi, Independence Day, the celebrations, I think this year were not as vibrant as, the previous years. But before we get into that, I think I'd like for us to just start with the address that came from the president yesterday. Now, President Tinubu, in his Independence Day broadcast, said Nigeria is winning the war against terrorism and banditry. I know a number of people have said that this is a contradiction when we look at the reality of what's going on in Nigeria right now. So I think in your own professional view, could the president's statement be more of a political assertion than a security-based assessment?
Well, I mean, I think the right people to give all this kind of assessment are people out there on the street, people out there in the communities. And, the vibes we're getting, the cries we're hearing, the anguish we're seeing, I really do not, support the assertions of Mr. President. I mean, that could be very political. What do you expect him to say? But the real thing is, as a matter of fact, is that we've not seen the respite we had wanted, what we needed to see. Let me go a little bit back to just about 10 years ago when I'm talking about the ascendancy of the Boko Haram insurgency. People thought that the end had come from Nigeria, that we have never seen a thing like that. I mean, the security challenge.
Hi, Chidi, can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me?
Can you hear me, sir?
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
I'm hearing you. Can you hear me? I hear you
yes.
Loud and clear. I can hear you.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I can hear you too.
All right, apologies for that glitch. If we do get Chidi back, we will get the answers that we so desperately seek when it comes to this particular matter. Let's head to River State, where the governor, Sim Fubara, has relieved all commissioners of their public office affected by the Supreme Court judgment of their appointments with immediate effect. Now, according to a statement signed by the Chief Press Secretary to the Governor, Nelson Chukudi, during a valedictory session he held in his cabinet to mark Nigeria's 65th independence anniversary in Government House, Port Harcourt, Governor Fubara commended them for their services and contributions to the development of the state in the last 2 years. He promised to serve River State with renewed vigor and encourage Nigerians to support President Tinubu in building a peaceful, secure, and prosperous country. We seem to have gotten Chidi back on the line. Chidi, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. I don't know if you can hear me.
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead. Based on my question again, this was in line with the speech that the president gave. In practical terms, was the assurance that he gave us based on political assertion, or are we looking at it from a security-based assessment?
Yes, I was just trying to make the point. Yeah, I was trying to establish the fact that it is really what the president described is almost different from what the realities are, out there in the communities. I mean, people in Kwara State will not agree with Mr. President. People in Katsina State will not agree with Mr. President. People in the Southeast will not agree with Mr. President. People across the country will not agree with Mr. President because insecurity is no longer confined to a particular region. It's across the country. Are you with me? Are you hearing me?
Yes, I can hear you. Please go ahead.
What's happening? Oh, very well then. So I'm just trying to say that we have not seen the respite we needed. Nigerians are actually really under intense security challenges, and I don't think that the assertions by Mr. President is true reflection of the reality on ground.
Now, can you just give me a bit of an evaluation? How has the evaluation on national security policy over the past 65 years addressed internal threats such as insecurity, banditry, and terrorism?
Look, let us take it this way. There's only one called root cause analysis. If you want to understand, the trajectory of Nigeria's insecurity, you have to look at the kickers, the roots, the foundational issues that give rise to this insecurity. I mean, the age-old governance deficit, poor leadership, corruption, weak institutions, the widespread deprivation of people. These things have given rise to, radicalization of people, destitution of the people, poverty here and there. And of course, there's a correlation between poverty and spike in crime and criminality. So when you have the factors, in combination, you are ultimately going to see a situation whereby security becomes a factor in our national development. So over the decades after our independence, we've not had a very, you cannot say you have had, let's say a decade of good governance. If not, you can't say that. It has only been, corruption here at every turn, and these things lead to, the fact that people are left with no option than to see crimes and criminality as an option for survival. So these are the root causes. And unless and until we deal with these root causes, or whatever we're doing is just dealing with the symptoms. We got to treat the disease if you want to kill the ailment. So that's what I'm saying. So if you give the entire 65 years of nationhood is actually marked by bad governance that have brought about poverty, brought about destitution, frustration, and which of course leads to people taking to crimes and criminality, people being radicalized, people who now see banditry or terrorism as an option of survival. So if you don't deal with them, you are not doing anything. I don't know if you're hearing me.
I hear you so much. Chidi, thank you very, very much for the insight and your time and input on this specific matter. Now, in the meantime, the Independence Day in River State was marked with silence. Despite earlier plans, the state government canceled the October 1st parade after the federal government announced a low-key celebration. News Central's Biola Festus gives us more on this report.
The Shark Stadium in Port Harcourt was earlier scheduled to host the Independence Day parade in River State, but the event was called off on the eve of the celebration. Some residents, unaware of the cancellation, still arrived, including little David, who found the grounds empty.
Came to do independence, but I didn't see anybody yet, so I feel bad about it. I was expecting him to come and do a salute.
The president has made a nationwide broadcast, and our governor here too has followed suit by not having the usual parade. Our governor has told every one of us to celebrate on a low key.
I'm expecting that they were going to do mad pass here, but very unfortunate. When I came here this morning, I didn't see anything.
Meanwhile, in the spirit of Independence Day, a former deputy governor of Rivers State, Gabriel Toby, has called for cordial relations between the state legislature and executive. This comes on the heels of an interdenominational Thanksgiving service held as part of activities marking October 1st.
I appeal that everybody should embrace the peace and reconciliation, and we should move on. All the people, the governor, the House of Assembly, the Speaker, and the Federal Minister should all move on, and let's have one United States and recover the losses of the last 6 months. That's our plea, and we still want to wait to see how they go on. But I think the president has done his own bit, and we want to thank him for that.
Since independence, crude oil producing states like Rivers have sustained Nigeria's economy and foreign exchange earnings. But stakeholders in Rivers insist that the federal government has failed to recognize the state's contributions.
I have not seen what the government has done to appreciate the role of Rivers State in the development and sustenance of the country. We are the oil producing state. What do we have to show for it?
For many in Rivers, the cancelled parade is a reminder of broader grievances over recognition and inclusion. Yet, residents remain hopeful that Nigeria's 65th independence will inspire greater unity and fairness among states. In Rivers State for News Central, Biola Festus.
The Petroleum and Natural Gas Senior Staff Association of Nigeria, PENGASSN, says it never signed a reconciliation agreement with Dangote Refinery and insists its suspended strike could resume if key issues remain unresolved. PENGASSN President Festus Osifo classified on Thursday that the communique released after talks with government mediators was not the signed agreement. He said the union withheld its signature because some conditions were unacceptable. Osifo stressed that the union's priority is the reinstatement of replaced workers, rejected accusations from Dangote Refinery that the affected employees engaged in sabotage. He described those claims as false and damning to their reputation. Now, Vice President Kashim Shettima has returned to Abuja following a week-long international mission that took him to New York City and Germany. During his engagements at the 80th United Nations General Assembly, the Vice President represented President Bola Tinubu, delivering Nigeria's national statement, which strongly advocated for comprehensive UN reforms and Africa's sovereignty over its $700 billion mineral wealth. In a key meeting with UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres, the Vice President secured commendations from Nigeria's push to secure a permanent seat on the Security Council. He further presented the nation's $200 billion energy transition opportunity to international investors. Before he stepped in Germany, Shettima also assured the Nigerian diaspora community of robust engagements in the administration's policies and programs. Now, coming up, over 200 arrested as Gens 212 protests in Morocco enter day 5. We'll bring you these details after this break. Stay with us. Protests in Morocco have entered a 5th day with escalating clashes reported between demonstrators and security forces across several cities. In Esgain, near Adigir, unrest turned violent as masked youth set fire and damaged public property. Similar scenes have been reported in Oujda, Beni Mellal, and Ait Amira. The demonstrations are being spearheaded by the youth collective Gen Z 212, which is demanding urgent reforms in health, education, and governance. Authorities say more than 200 people have been arrested in Rabat, while 37 have already been charged. Now in Casablanca, 6 minors are among those referred to court. Although Gen Z 212 leaders have consistently called for non-violence, the protests reflect growing anger over inequality and recent healthcare scandals that have fueled public outrage. Now we fly to London, where Africa Week UK is underway at Woolwich Works. The 3-day celebration brings together leaders, artists, entrepreneurs, and communities to showcase African culture, creativity, and innovation. From music and fashion to business and policy reforms, the event is shining a spotlight on Africa's growing global influence and, of course, strengthening ties between the continent and the United Kingdom. Our senior international correspondent, Afia Hagen, is there and gives us more. Afia, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
Now, Afia, can you walk us through what's happening there today? What are some of the highlights at the Africa Week United Kingdom?
Well, it's a 3-day celebration, like you said, and it's taking in business leaders, cultural leaders, entrepreneurs, all talking about how to forward the agenda of Africa. And this is taking place during Black History Month here in the UK. We've got a panel just starting in next door, and that's about business and entrepreneurship as well. We've got a sports panel later on. We've got a fashion show later on in the week as well on Saturday. That's when kind of the culmination of all the cultural events comes together. But it's not just about culture, it's about business, it's about leadership, entrepreneurship, and diplomacy also.
So I know that Africa has been demanding a seat at the table because we know what we can bring to the table in terms of creativity and culture. So for me, I believe that this is more than just a cultural festival. It also has a strong business and policy angle. Can you tell us that, how are leaders here using this platform to strengthen UK-Africa ties?
You're absolutely right. It's more than about culture and fashion and food. It's about diplomacy, it's about policy, and it's exploring what we can do as diasporans in the UK to forward the policies that government makes and forward our own business ties and business links with the countries that we are from, whether that's Nigeria, whether that's Ghana. It's about fostering those links and making sure that they are productive, and also making sure that we can shape policy and shape diplomacy where we can.
I love that you said shape policy and diplomacy where we can. Now, Afia, we are very much aware that Africa Week is showcasing music, art, of course, and fashion. Now, what kind of cultural impact is this event having?
Listen, events like this have actually a huge cultural impact because we have huge diasporan communities, Nigerian and Ghanaian communities, as well as South African, Zambian communities, all over the United Kingdom, and making sure that we continue to celebrate our culture, and particularly through Black History Month, is really, really important to make sure that we keep those diasporan ties. So you're seeing people here today in cultural dress and traditional dress, usually something that we reserve for Friday, but it's Thursday. We have a fashion show later on this week as well. We're talking about sport, the business of sport, and sport management. So keeping those cultural ties strong, maintaining them and building upon them is so, so important for a sense of pride in diasporans, but also making sure that we maintain our ties with countries that we are all from.
All right, thank you. Thank you so much, Afia, for that insight. I feel like I'm in the UK with you already, representing Africa. Thank you so much. Nigeria has just marked 65 years of independence. 65 years since the Union Jack came down to the green-white flag, and the green-white flag came up, I beg your pardon. The parade will be colorful, the president will give a speech, and the cannons will fire in salute. But after the drums fade and the flags fold, what exactly are we celebrating? Now, on paper, the economy looks healthy. GDP grows by 4.25% in the second quarter of 2025, boosted by oil and services. The government even bragged that debt to GDP has fallen to around 39% after a rebasing exercise. But here's the reality check. You don't feed your family with rebased statistics. While the spreadsheet looks cleaner, Nigeria's actual public debt is still around 149 trillion naira, and ordinary citizens are crushed under the same taxes, inflation, and unemployment. Now, take healthcare. Independence should mean freedom to life, but our doctors and nurses are leaving in masses, running to countries where their skills are valued and their salaries are paid. At home, nurses are going on strike almost every other month. Patients are left stranded, some unattended to, and the government's best idea is to beg health workers to stay. And I, for one, will never forget the subtle threat these healthcare workers felt when our dear government advocated that other countries stopped hiring them. 65 years free, and yet our survival still demands on the mercy, flights abroad, and prayer in the waiting rooms. Education, on the other hand, shows glimmers of what independence should look like. Students are winning Olympiads, breaking new grounds in tech, and flying Nigeria's flag high in global competitions. History has even returned to the curriculum after years of being erased. But even then, these successes are barely celebrated. Recognition is swallowed up by strikes, underfunded classrooms, and a system that rewards survival, not brilliance. And then there's a civil service. Minimum wage is still stuck at the 70s, 77,000 naira to be exact, which is even still being debated. That can't buy dignity in today's market. Instead, it's raising it. The government prefers to lecture civil servants about how to dress. Independence apparently means you can't afford bread, but at least you look smart with your tie while starving. Meanwhile, insecurity stalks daily life. Bandits, kidnappers, and terrorism remain a grim backdrop for communities across the country. Tens of thousands of Nigerians have lost their lives in conflicts that should have been resolved years ago. Food insecurity grips 31 million people, and poverty remains a chain around 40% of the population. 65 years free, yet millions cannot eat or sleep safely. And still, there are sparks. The economy has some momentum. Young Nigerians are carrying the weight of national pride through innovation, through music, through film, and education. Our soft power is global. The people are restless, vocal, and determined. And maybe that is the truest sign of independence left, the refusal to be silenced. And that's your postscript. Now, the battle of the unbeatens. Rivers, Hoopers, and Lagos Legends face off in the Nigeria Premier Basketball League Phase 2. Both teams already through to the playoffs, but one will leave with their first loss. Ope Adebari has more.
Hi, Inam. Good afternoon. And yes, this is day 3, or should I say day 4 of the ongoing Nigerian Basketball Premier League for the men anyway. The one for the women already concluded. And obviously, we've got reactions from last night's Champions League games as well. All that and more on In the Game.
And that's all at the 12 report. Remember, you may send your eyewitness reports to the WhatsApp number on the screen. Do follow us on social media. We are at News Central TV. You can watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Go TV channel 23, Star Time channel 274, You can download the AVO TV app, and wherever in the world you are, you can always find us on YouTube. Till next time, my name is Ina Maso, standing in for Blessings Masugu. Many thanks for watching.